You don't need anyone to tell you that your body doesn't respond the same way after 60. Your energy drops. Your belly gets bigger even though you're not eating much. Your blood sugar levels become unpredictable. And no matter how hard you try to diet or exercise, your weight and cholesterol just won't budge. You're not lazy. Your body is fighting against you, and the reason lies within your metabolism, not your willpower. The good news is, there are simple, natural, and low-cost ways to support this process, and many older adults in the US are starting with something they never expected: leaves. Not pills, not fads, just simple leaves, the kind you might already have in your tea cabinet, kitchen, or backyard garden. Some studies have shown that certain types of leaves contain active compounds that help regulate blood sugar, reduce silent inflammation in the body, stabilize cholesterol, and help your body burn fat more efficiently, even while you're resting. If you feel like things are getting out of control, your blood sugar goes up every time you check, your belly keeps growing even though you're barely eating, what I'm about to share isn't a miracle, but it's worth a try. Before we get to the most powerful leaf of all, I'll introduce you to some of the more common ones, many of which you've probably consumed without knowing their real benefits. We'll break down the benefits of each type of leaf, backed by scientific evidence, and explain how to use them in a way that's safe for older adults, without causing fatigue or interfering with your medications. If you've ever used herbs for your health, share your experience below, because what you share might help someone just like you. And if you're interested in living more actively and healthily after 60, hit the like button and subscribe to The Elderly Way, where you'll find real, practical, no-nonsense, all-natural solutions. Starting the journey, the first leaf, mint. If you're looking for a gentle way to reset your body after 60, this is the simplest option: mint. Not in pill form, no prescription needed, just a cup of tea. We're not saying mint is a miracle cure, but science has shown it helps your body process food better, boosts metabolism gently, and most importantly, it works even while you're at rest. What does that mean? As you age, burning calories becomes harder, even if you're eating less. Mint can help naturally speed up your metabolism, making it easier to reduce fat without adding more stress. And that's not all. Mint also helps soothe the digestive system, reduce bloating and gas, support the body in flushing out excess fluids, which often cause that heavy, bloated feeling around the belly. Some studies also show that mint can help stabilize blood sugar, reduce post-meal sugar spikes, and curb sugar cravings, which is especially important if you're managing diabetes. As for your heart, mint may help lower LDL bad cholesterol, raise HDL good cholesterol, and support clearer blood vessels. A cup of mint tea a day in the morning or after dinner is a small habit that can bring a sense of lightness and improve overall health. Do you already use mint in your own way? Share in the comments. Your experience could inspire others in the same age group. The second leaf, little known but full of potential. This next leaf might sound unfamiliar, but don't scroll past it just yet. If you're looking to eat less but feel full longer, curb cravings, stabilize blood sugar after meals, then here's a leaf you need to know. Oropanobis, a tricky name, but worth remembering. What makes this leaf special is its high content of plant-based protein and soluble fiber, two key elements that help older adults manage weight and blood sugar without major changes to their diet. And there's more. The fiber in this leaf helps clean out your blood vessels, pulling out excess cholesterol, helps your digestive system function more regularly, and many people report that after 1-2 weeks of use, they experience less bloating, easier bowel movements, and better sleep. A big bonus: this leaf also helps reduce silent internal inflammation, the kind you can't see, but that quietly slows down your metabolism and contributes to blood sugar issues, liver problems, and heart disease. You can try using it in soups, stews, or stir-fries. Just a small amount each day is enough. Have you heard of this leaf before? If you've used it, share your experience in the comments. If not, this might be something worth trying. Next, a traditional leaf, natural support for blood sugar and inflammation. This isn't some exotic herb. Sage is a leaf that's been used in many folk medicine traditions for hundreds of years. What makes sage special isn't its flavor, it's its ability to manage chronic inflammation in the body, the root cause of belly fat gain, insulin resistance leading to diabetes, and damage to the cardiovascular system. Sage has also been noted to help improve insulin sensitivity, helping cells absorb glucose more effectively, reduce sudden spikes in blood sugar, support healthier cholesterol levels. You can use dried sage in soups, bone broths, or brew it as a light evening tea. The flavor isn't strong, but the effects are steady and safe. If you've ever used sage in food or tea, share how you use it. The Elderly Way channel truly values real experiences from real people. Next up, an ancient leaf with modern power, holy basil. There's a type of leaf once considered sacred in some Asian cultures, and now it's being reevaluated by Western science for its noticeable impact on metabolic health in older adults. Its name is holy basil, not the kind of basil you'd usually toss into Italian dishes or salads. This leaf contains plant compounds that can naturally stabilize blood sugar, especially after meals. Prevent sudden insulin spikes, one of the key reasons for post-meal weight gain and fatigue. Calm internal inflammation, the silent factor behind belly fat, worsened diabetes, and cholesterol imbalances. In addition, holy basil helps lower LDL, bad cholesterol, boosts circulation, and can make you feel lighter in your belly each day. For many people, a cup of holy basil tea in the morning brings a sense of calm, comfort, and no more heavy, bloated feeling in the gut. If you've ever felt sluggish after meals or constantly weighed down, holy basil is worth trying as a gentle yet effective support option. Have you ever used holy basil? If yes, share your experience, because no one understands its true effects better than those who have tried it. Next up, a familiar pizza herb with powerful sugar and fat control, oregano. When you hear oregano, you probably think of pizza, right? But what you may not know is, this is one of the most powerful herbs for supporting metabolism. The antioxidants in oregano leaves have been studied for their ability to reduce cellular inflammation, a root cause of blood sugar and cholesterol disorders, improve insulin sensitivity, meaning your body can handle sugar more effectively, stabilize energy and reduce sugar cravings. On top of that, oregano helps lower LDL, raise HDL, good cholesterol, and protect blood vessels from plaque buildup, crucial if you're trying to prevent heart disease after 60. Try sprinkling oregano on soups, salads, or your morning eggs. It's an easy flavor boost with very real benefits. Next up, a humble leaf that supports kidneys, heart, and belly at the same time, parsley. You might be overlooking a powerful herb just because it's so common. Parsley isn't just for garnish, it's a highly effective natural diuretic. Even a small pinch of parsley can help. Flush out fluids, sodium, and toxins from the body. Reduce pressure on the kidneys and heart. Ease bloating and abdominal heaviness, especially in the afternoon or after dinner. It also supports better insulin response, keeping blood sugar steady throughout the day, lower LDL cholesterol, and most importantly, liver support, which is key for fat breakdown and detoxification. Parsley is packed with vitamins A, C, K, plus potassium and iron, all essential nutrients for people over 60. How do you usually use parsley in juice, salad, or soup? Share your tip. Even a small change can make a big difference. Next up, a gentle leaf for your nerves and great for your gut too, lemon balm. If you've heard of lemon balm as a relaxing tea, here's some good news. That's just the beginning of its benefits. Recent research shows lemon balm may also help the body use insulin more efficiently, naturally stabilize blood sugar, and lower cortisol, the stress hormone that contributes to belly fat and metabolic issues. In other words, if you're stressed and gaining weight around your waist, lemon balm might help you tackle both problems at once. That's not all, it also supports more stable blood pressure and circulation, while gently stimulating digestion, no crashes, no stomach upset. A cup of lemon balm tea in the evening could be a simple way to feel better, both physically and emotionally. Have you tried it yet? If so, you know the benefits better than any study ever could. Next, basil. Not just a spice, but a subtle anti-inflammatory for the heart and metabolism. You may have used basil in Italian dishes or stir-fries, but you've probably never thought of it as a tool for managing blood sugar and reducing stress. What makes basil special is its ability to help cells become more sensitive to insulin, which means it can naturally lower blood sugar after meals, prevent sudden blood sugar spikes and crashes, which cause fatigue and increased hunger, and more importantly, reduce systemic inflammation, a key factor in weight gain, high cholesterol, and heart issues in older adults. Some people drink basil as a mild herbal tea in the afternoon, both to aid digestion and to help balance cortisol levels, which in turn helps ease anxiety and curb cravings. If you're trying to maintain a steady weight without pushing yourself too hard, basil is a natural option that's easy to try and easy to stick with. Do you usually use basil fresh, dried, or as tea? Share how you use it. Next, dandelion. A backyard weed but a detox warrior for your liver and belly. Dandelion might look like a random weed popping up after the rain, but its leaves are one of the unsung heroes of detoxification, especially for older adults. The liver is the body's main filter, and when it's overloaded, everything from blood sugar to belly fat gets worse. Dandelion helps cleanse the liver, improve fat metabolism, and in turn, supports belly fat reduction and energy stability. In addition, it has a mild diuretic effect, helping reduce bloating, flush out sodium and toxins, supports better insulin response, helps maintain healthy cholesterol, and reduces inflammation in blood vessels and the digestive system. You can brew tea from dried dandelion root or leaves. Many people choose to drink it in the morning or before dinner to gently stimulate digestion. Have you ever used dandelion? You might have walked past it growing in your backyard without realizing you were stepping over a natural remedy. Next, rosemary. A scent that excites more than just your taste buds, it sparks fat burning too. If you've ever smelled rosemary while roasting chicken or potatoes, you know its aroma is unmistakable. But few people realize that rosemary also impacts fat cells and blood sugar levels. Specifically, it helps boost insulin sensitivity, allowing your body to process sugar more efficiently, aids in reducing fat storage and keeps blood sugar stable, and notably, it activates mitochondrial function, the power plants in your cells, improving fat-burning efficiency. Additionally, rosemary has anti-inflammatory properties, helps improve cholesterol, supports blood circulation, and helps keep arteries clean. You can use fresh or dried rosemary in roasted dishes or brew it into tea. Steep a few sprigs in hot water for 5–10 minutes. It might be just what you need to shake off that sluggish feeling after a meal. Next, avocado leaves. The little-known part with a big secret for blood sugar and liver fat. You're probably used to eating avocados. But did you know avocado leaves have significant benefits when it comes to managing blood sugar and reducing visceral fat? Avocado leaves contain powerful anti-inflammatory compounds, helping calm the silent internal reactions that slowly damage your body from within. Specifically, they enhance insulin effectiveness, reducing the conversion of sugar into fat, support the burning of liver fat, a dangerous type of fat that's hard to detect, help lower LDL, raise HDL, and improve circulation. Also provide a mild diuretic effect, reducing puffiness and water retention. You can brew avocado leaf tea much like green tea. It has a mild, pleasant flavor and can be enjoyed daily as part of a healthy lifestyle. If you've never tried it, This might be the time to add avocado leaves to your list of herbs worth exploring. Next, mango leaves. Gentle, natural, yet incredibly powerful. Most of us only pay attention to the mango fruit, forgetting that mango leaves also offer benefits worth tapping into, especially if you're looking to manage blood sugar and reduce belly fat. These leaves are rich in plant compounds that can stabilize insulin, helping reduce blood sugar spikes after meals, maintain steady energy levels throughout the day, limiting post-meal fatigue, and most notably, activate fat-breaking enzymes that help the body convert excess fat into energy. In addition, mango leaves have mild anti-inflammatory properties and support detoxification, which helps improve overall metabolism without putting strain on the liver or kidneys. You can use dried mango leaves to brew tea or boil them into a drink throughout the day. The flavor is light, somewhat like young green tea, and very easy to enjoy. Have you ever tried mango leaf tea? Share your thoughts. Sometimes even the smallest detail you offer might help someone change a life habit. Next, bay leaves. More than aroma, they support digestion and heart health. Often used in stews or broth, bay leaves are commonly thought of as just a flavoring. But few people realize these are one of the most quietly effective leaves for supporting blood sugar and cholesterol. Bay leaves contain compounds that can stimulate digestive enzymes, helping reduce fat buildup and bloating after meals. Increase insulin sensitivity, supporting long-term blood sugar stability. Lower LDL, support blood circulation and protect the arteries. They also have mild diuretic effects, helping reduce abdominal swelling and that heavy feeling after dinner. Do you often cook with whole bay leaves? If you have any good recipes, share them, because your way of using herbs is real-life experience that many older adults truly need. Next, mulberry leaves, a secret weapon for blood sugar and waistline control. If you're managing diabetes or high cholesterol, mulberry leaves deserve a place on your list of herbs to try. They've been shown to reduce sugar absorption after meals, improve insulin response, helping blood sugar fluctuate less, decrease fat buildup, especially in the belly, which is the hardest area to reduce for those over 60. In addition, the flavonoids in mulberry leaves help strengthen blood vessels, protecting them from damage, raise HDL and lower LDL, which is great for heart health, and provide mild anti-inflammatory effects in internal organs, helping metabolism flow more smoothly. You can brew mulberry leaf tea or take it in supplement form if fresh leaves are hard to find. This is a natural, simple, and safe way to support your health, especially if you want to pair it with a healthy lifestyle without overly relying on medication. Finally, olive leaves. Small, but they can transform your metabolism. If you could only choose one type of leaf to support metabolic health, olive leaves might be your top pick. It's no coincidence they've been used for centuries in Mediterranean medicine. Olive leaves contain oleuropein, a compound extensively studied for its ability to balance blood sugar and make insulin work more effectively, prevent sugar from being stored as belly fat, lower LDL, raise HDL, and protect blood vessels from plaque buildup. And it doesn't stop there. Olive leaves also activate enzymes that burn visceral fat, reduce liver fat, a hidden but serious risk factor, especially after age 60. Many people choose to drink olive leaf tea each morning or use extract form under the guidance of a doctor. If you're dealing with type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, or fatty liver, this is one of the most worthwhile natural options to consider adding to your daily routine. We've just explored over a dozen types of leaves together, from the gentle mint to the resilient olive leaf. Each one carries its own unique benefits, but they all share a common goal: to help you take charge of your health in a natural, easy, and stress-free way. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. Sometimes, a cup of tea after a meal, a pinch of herbs in your soup, or a small bedtime habit can bring results far beyond what you expect. Whether you're looking to get rid of stubborn belly fat, keep your blood sugar stable despite emotional ups and downs, or strengthen your heart year after year, these leaves are worth a try. They're safe, easy to find, and simple to incorporate into your daily routine. If you've used any of them before, drop a comment and share your experience. Or if you learned something new today and want to give it a shot, don't hesitate to let me know how it goes after a few weeks. Your real-life experience is a valuable gift for others following this channel. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Elderly Way. We're here to walk with you, not with big promises, but with simple, safe, and powerful solutions that can truly make a difference. Thanks for spending your time with us. Take good care of yourself, and see you in the next video.